We're live. There we go. Hi, everyone. So I'm here and you can see Donovan, the albino Maine Coon cat, lounging behind me. Here's Mitzi, the maniac. Okay. It is raining outside, cold, dank kind of day that, or evening, not real pleasant to, have at the moment, but it's going to be so good for all of the plants and the trees. As soon as the sun comes out with all this rain, the trees will just be like, all the leaves will be twice as big and the flowers will start blooming. So welcome. It is so nice to see you all. Let's see. Hold on, let me type a little chat. Hi, everyone. Feel welcome to share comments and questions. So awkward to type. Art. There we go. Okay. So, hi, and also feel welcome to click on the thumbs up. Please, Sola. Thank you. Next week, I'll try to remember to have that all typed up so I can just paste in advance. Thank you. Hi, Kathy. So everyone who's watching, I am, hi, Nazi. Hi, Kathy. For those of you who are members of our Akashic Adventures group, and if you're not members, feel welcome to join. Go to bonitawoods.org and join once a month, or as we get more organized, a couple of times a month. These members, just $20 a month, get to have live Q&A and discussion conversation with the librarians. It's offline, so people feel more comfortable sharing and talking, and the librarians love it. This winter I have come south from my little home in Maine, my mountaintop home. Not such a great sacrifice because my neighbors said it's been 50-mile-per-hour winds, 20 below zero, and several feet of snow on the ground. So I don't mind being in the South, like in Florida and Virginia, helping my various parents, my dad and stepmom, my mom and stepdad, get through the winter. And so I've spent the last few days at the hospital, but we are optimistic about I have a lot of family members here and everyone deserves their privacy, but a family member is in the hospital, but we'll be out soon. We're very optimistic. Nothing contagious. Don't worry. But one thing, and I get called to help everyone since I used to work in healthcare as a nutritional chef, but I have a number of decades of being in healthcare facilities all day, every day, working with the medical teams. So I'm the logical person for everyone in my family to call when they need this kind of help, and it is my privilege to be able to help. So I've had a lot of time the last few days sitting very quietly in contemplative openness. I would say not so much meditation, just quiet time when just communicating with the librarians. And the librarians are here, but I'm so bone tired. I can't hold them in my body for channeling tonight. I know I promised this week, but everything kind of went topsy-turvy. However, what I can do, and they and I have been practicing it the last few days, is just like when I give a past life reading and my clients' past lives and their soul and their guardian angel and whomever, their spirit guides come, and they come into me, but I'm still awake. However, they share their stories and their messages through me. So I'm not speaking with my words, I'm speaking with their words, but I'm able to also talk and interject. Sort of like, imagine an actor that's got their lines fed to them through an earpiece. It's sort of like that sort of process. So we're going to do that tonight, and fingers crossed that next week will be, calmer for me and I'll be able to be more. So, Nazi, all of this began with a question you asked them a few weeks ago about why is it that the entire world is stepping up to the Russian invasion of Ukraine in a way that, which is a good thing. Obviously, we are all hopefully in agreement that it is good for the world to step up and help Ukraine from, being destroyed completely and usurped by an invading force. However, why is the whole world doing it now when it didn't really do it, in Syria, in the Middle East, in Africa, in other countries? Is this like a global racist thing? Like, oh, a white country is being invaded, let's band together. That's not quite the way, that's not how you expressed it. But this is how I, based on the question you asked the other week, I wanted to have this conversation with the librarians, because I want to know, is the world like stepping up for something good? Is the world racist? Like, for me, this was a big question. And it really affects the frequencies on our planet. It's, well, you guys know, I don't need to explain why to me that was a question. And they gave such an interesting answer that went on and on. Basically, they said, any thought of, at that time, they said, don't think of it as that. Think of it as, this is a trigger point. This is a hitting a point in a mandala that, and they said, don't compare it to any other human travesty, because we will always fall short. There will never be a good answer. There will never be, anything other than finding wrongness. And finding wrongness always depletes your energy. The saying that people like to quote, oh, there, but for the sake of God, go I. I think that's it, meaning that person's having bad luck, but for the sake of God, I'm not. And the librarians, and this is also found in an interesting book, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers, also discusses this. It was so interesting when I read it in that amazing book by Annie Kagan, because the librarians and I have had the same discussion multiple times before. That is completely wrong. It's there for the sake of God, go I. That word but is put in meaning a separation. It creates a barrier that's happening, but I'm over here in good shape. I will not help. It's putting up a wall of cowardice, of separatism. They're saying, no, if that is happening for the sake of God, there I go. I go to help. And, some of you like Nancy, who's such an amazing activist, know that the librarians, like, we've all held them accountable for the importance of, while we raise our human vibration, while we raise the planet's vibration, we must not forsake those who need help to be raised up. That we should never turn our back on those who are in trouble. So they were saying about this whole thing in Ukraine, and I promise this is not going to get political, that at this time, things are happening that allow the world to go from that first, oh, lucky it's not me, too bad for them, to, for the sake of God, the sake of my soul, the sake of our planet, the sake of the universe, whatever it is that your faith lies in, I go there, I help. It's a shifting in our global consciousness. And it's a necessary shift because we were going too far in the direction of selfishness. They said one of the reasons is also there are no major resources in the Ukraine that make greedy global leaders want to have covert dealings to like corruptly grab what they can. In countries that are rich in oil and other resources, the corruption will go ahead of the human concern. And so that is an issue far more than racism or any thought of one type of human being inferior or superior to any other. That there had been a previous effort at corrupting Ukraine and it didn't work. And now there's just like nothing really of that great interest. So the humanitarians are able to take lead in this situation. And of course, the politics and all that is involved. But so that started a conversation between us that lasted for several days of how do we raise our vibration to become beings of pure love and still allow ourselves to have the natural emotions of fear and hate and anger and to grow, to go forward with what we have to do. How do we manage all of this? It is really, it's a lot to manage. Okay, you must be your best self, be a being of love, love everyone, make sure these good people are not hurt, go into battle. Like these are conflicting. And so they gave me a living lesson this week, one that really took me by surprise. There were people that I had to work with, coordinate with this week that do not see me as someone worth respecting or even being polite to, or even being vaguely friendly to, or even acknowledging. And yet I had to work with them. And, you know, I'm a hothead. I'm an Aries. I am like the most Aries you'll ever meet. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of astrology you do, like the European type, the Vedic type, the whatever. I come up as full Aries, and in every house of anything, I'm Aries. I am like, so yeah, I go forward and I can have very explosive, passionate reactions. It's taken a lifetime of focus to learn to like calm the fire and put it to like, instead of big explosions, put it to valuable effect, useful effect. So instead of fighting these people for what had to happen, I asked the librarians, and they reminded me of when the Guruji Arun, our beloved Pranashakti teacher, said to me, when you can be so filled with love that you are pure love, you could walk through a battlefield and no harm will come to you. In fact, wherever you walk, peace will occur. And I was like, yeah, maybe for you, Guruji, but for me, I have a feeling I'll just get like spears and machine gun fire all over me. And he said, because you do not fill yourself with enough love to have this power. And I'm like, oh, so chastised. So this group of people that I had to work with to make sure someone I love is receiving the care they need to get. I just went into my place of pure love. And I only connected to anyone through the frequency of love, which meant when insults came at me or snide comments, or when things that I said were being, pushed to the side, I connected only through love. And it was amazing. It was amazing. It changed everything. Absolutely everything. Not just even for me, for everyone. The love became so infectious. You saw people relaxing and reconnecting, and it was almost like the air we were breathing changed. And all these things started happening. Requests that I made that I shouldn't have been allowed to make were being honored to the highest level. Support and care and concern that I asked for was all being completely acknowledged. And, it changed everything. So this is where that question of how can you be an activist and only be in the frequency of pure love? I said to the librarians, I can't always be in this frequency. It's just it's not me. I'm on a divine mission for you, but I'm also have to be me. I can't, what am I going to do when I feel emotions other than love? Will I shame myself, embarrass myself, push it down and drink a martini? What am I going to do? I can't ignore my emotions. They said, no, honor your emotions, learn from them, use them, but see how you can raise them up instead of letting them drag you down to the pits. When you do feel despair or fear or anger, bring them to their highest frequency and use them for how they're useful, and then find your way back to love. Direct them back to love. Don't repress them. Don't ignore them. Don't be ashamed by your feelings, but raise them up to the best they can be. See how they can be made useful, and see how you can connect it to whatever benefits, and then direct it back to love and go forward. So I thought that's a lesson worth actually thinking about, worth meditating upon. I always tell people, when you're in any kind of relationship, be it work, friendship, romance, two people can only meet at the lowest common denominator, and then you grow from there. Those of you who are my clients and my students, you've heard me say this many times. It doesn't matter if someone has all this potential, you can't be upset with them or disappointed in them because they're living here, not where their potential is. For you people who are empaths, for you people who have the ability to see life paths or to see soul purposes, you're going to see potential. You're going to see the potential. But that's where they will get to in this life or another life. It's not necessarily where they are now. So you have to meet them where they are now. And then how do you naturally grow together? And if where they're at now is a frequency that you cannot connect with, you'll just be miserable trying to force them to your comfort, to your need for connection. If they're naturally here, you're naturally there, but they're capable of here. Well, it's the same with ourselves. I had all these emotions, but I had to honor them where they were at. All of my thoughts, my anger, my frustration, my need to vent, to scream, to cry, my fear, my anxiety. I had to meet it where it was at and then work with it to say, what can we release? What's just here like dead weight, keeping us at the lowest level? What can we release while still acknowledging the truth of all of this, but raise it up to an actionable, directable level and take it forward so that we're not just stuck. There's Donovan. He's got a little kibble bowl there in the tree. So that we can I could honor what I was feeling, but not be stuck in it, to take it forward and then eventually back to love. And then you go forward and have the next thing. I think Brian Weiss, in one of his books, in the introduction, I forget which book, maybe Many Lives, Many Masters, I'm not sure. He mentions in the intro about how he and his wife were at the Omega Institute and everything was amazing. The frequency was high, the energy was high. You know, everyone was in their highest state of being. And as they were like leaving the Omega Institute to return home, I think New York City, he and his wife agreed, we're going to hold on to this. We're going to just be our best selves forever. And they're driving down and some guy like cut him off and honked his horn and flipped him off. And he got upset and they're like, oh, it's gone now. But that's the thing. When you get dropped down, you don't have to stay there. You just have to honor it and then get it back to where it should be, where you want it to be. If you want to be up here and you find yourself here, it's like if you have a scale with a lot of weights. So what do we take off, or what do we deal with, or what do we fluff up, or what do we acknowledge to get it there? And this is the same for an individual. It's the same for humanity. It's the same for our planet. It's the same for every country. So that was the conversation the librarians and I have had for the last 2 days. Well, because, you know, when you're sitting with a loved one in a hospital, it's a lot of time just sitting while they're sleeping and you're waiting for doctors. I'm checking in with the librarians. I'm like, dudes, we have more, right? And like, oh no, that was good. That was a lesson. So I'm like, okay, I'm telling them there needs to be a little more because I feel like that wasn't enough. Okay. A little update on my book. I printed out all the pages I've written and look, I have like 450 single space typed pages. So now I get to edit it to be like half. And then I will probably take it down from 450 to 200. And then there's a lot more to go in. So another like 300. I don't know what that will translate to when I print it in a smaller book size. But this is an example of what the librarians are talking about. You know, in the book, it's the story of Durmata, who was a very naughty Buddhist or Hindu monk, became very bad because he had everything, plus a lot of arrogance. And when you're that brilliant with that much arrogance, his life challenge was to learn to harness his arrogance and bring it to love so he could be of benefit to all. And instead, he harnessed his arrogance to destroy as many as he could. He was a real son of a gun. So he caused a lot of havoc, and this is a real man. And then he died, and he was very embarrassed by the life he lived, and spent a few thousand years after death trying to repair the harm he had done. And oh, thank you, Shelley. Thank you. And then do good and to bring goodness to himself. But it's this sort of thing is easier when we're in flesh and blood. When we're etheric, it's very difficult. So he came back to life as a Doa, who was just like the kindest, most loving person, and a Buddhist nun from Thailand. And she actually was one of Jesus's teachers. So she had some great stories to tell. And she does say, do not hate Durmata. Do not be angry at him. Do not look down upon him, because he learned a lot of lessons. A lot of people learned a lot of karmic lessons because of him. And if it were not for him being so excessively bad, Doa would not have been born. She was only created. She only came to life to try to help heal the damage he had done. And she's very glad that she lived her life. She had a wonderful life. She feels very good about it. And she did so much good for others. And she helped Durmata to redeem himself and to find his way back to love. So she says, how can we hate someone who created so much energy and in the end gave her the precious gift of life and allowed so much healing to happen? But so when I channel them, I'm going to read to you. This was written by Durmata. Just shows you I do not really enjoy channeling him, and you're about to. He says, it is a terrible thing to be a brilliant man surrounded by feeble-minded and fools. Notice that I differentiate between the two, for the feeble-minded might still be self-sustainingly clever, and even men with capacity for intelligence can be the worst fools. Unfortunately for me, I lived my full youth with the worst of both mental designs. Even men of great potential were brought to their lowest state by foolish notions, constant ceremony, and eternal salutations. So he's talking about his family, the neighborhood he grew up in, and the monastery that he moved to, his teachers, very divine people. That's who he's talking about as fools and feeble mind. In their entire lives, my parents performed only one great act of intelligence. They recognized my potential and natural powers. They gave me to a monastery. My life before age 6 was inconsequential. My life after age 6 changed the world. So I could not, after I was like, oh dude, I felt so ill having that guy in my body that I told him after that he needs to dictate to me, and that didn't even work. So now he tells me his stories, and then I write his stories from my perspective because I can't even. But then Doa came to life, and she wrote the most beautiful sentiment. And this is an exercise that relates. The librarians had me reread all of this today. They asked me to share this. So this is from Doa, who is so beautiful and kind, and she has amazing skills. I still see her in the present tense. Of course, she was alive several thousand years ago, but she had amazing skills. Like she could walk on clouds, and she could both she and Durmata could shapeshift into anything. She was just absolutely unbelievable. Well, believable, but amazing. She says, and this is a skill that we can all do, that she's sharing with us. So what she's about to describe, you can do this. When I was a child, I was taught to see without sight. I also learned to hear without ears and to feel what is beyond my reach. My mother was an elemental healer. Her work was revered within our community. She was an especially kind woman and much adored. My father loved being one with our planet. He spent much time farming and nourishing the life cycle of plants and their brethren insects. No one in my family has eaten a bite of meat for many generations, yet I admit a fondness for both fresh and fermented milk. I had a small goat that would let me nuzzle her teats alongside her children during the summers. Oh, how I cried at age 9 when I became too large for this communal act. My mother would blindfold me, then call me from across a wide field. She would invite me to come to her any way but safely. I could run, skip, dance, with my energy guiding me to her via an energetic cord of love that was always bound between us. This is an excellent exercise of the senses and aids with release from dependency of the physical. It is a reminder that energetic is the true reality and physical is not real except within the most drab confines of our creation. The more you deprive yourself of belief in what you perceive as real and physical, the quicker you can connect with the true reality. We so easily become dependent upon our physical abilities. It is easy to fall into lazy habits, to assume that our experiences comprise reality. As we limit our skills, we whittle down our connection to realism. Imagine many people in paradise, but each person sits in a dark hovel and shuns the outdoors. This is what comes from defining reality as self flowing outward. Utilizing, developing, honing our non-senses allow us to see that truism is source flowing to self. A baby has a limited understanding of reality, so being true can easily flow in. The more we grow and become dependent upon our delicately constructed concepts, the less goodness can reach you and your core being. Your structure open upon which you rely, your structure upon which you rely so completely is nothing more than a fragile maze. How can goodness flow directly to you when it must run through this maze of mistruths to reach you? I challenge you to try a little exercise for yourself. Sit comfortably in a safe, sparsely furnished room. Cover your eyes with blinders and plug your ears. Sit in this manner until you feel centered. Align yourself with your true and divine energy. Feel the energy flowing through you, the energy emanating from you, and the environmental energy around you. Gently touch the physical space about your body. Feel it on all levels, from dense physical to auric field, to the lines of connective energy to and from other auric fields. Some of those will not be in your physical space. Some will. A chair and a table will maintain this energetic connection, even if separated or taken apart and redesigned, repurposed, or burned. Said chair will always be connected to the tree from which it was crafted, and all the woodwork from said tree. It will be connected to the land from which said tree grew. It will be connected to the energy of the elements, the gentle breezes, the nourishing rains, to the animals that climbed, nested in, or burrowed beneath this magnificent tree. The chair will also be connected to the mandala of this tree and all beings that connected with it. Some of these energetic lines will be powerful, some more subtle. Some will transport you to other connections and offer anecdotes, lessons, and adventures. Sit, blinded and mute. In this state, learn to connect with your environment. Learn to feel the tactile touch of multi-dimensions at your fingertips. Each lesson you create a loving platform for your next stage of karmic growth. You may stand and move. In time, your careful and tentative steps will be replaced with comfort and ease. From there, your senses can grow to support your spirit sight. In time, you will lose your dependence upon the crutches of physical senses. You will see from a higher plane. In time, and with continued practice, your eyes and ears will become additional resources, not primary. Oh my God, she's so wise. So wise. And she is filled with gratitude to this arrogant Durmada, and even loves him despite all the harm that he gave. I asked the librarians about this. My dog and cat are playing tag. I asked the librarians about this, about, as I'm sitting, learning to connect with people through love so that our mutual goals can be harnessed together, about bringing wellness to someone we either love or they're paid to care for him or whatever. And they were saying, we were each born in a state of pure love, not necessarily in this life. When our souls were born at source, when we were sparks of pure love. So just as Doa was saying, we become so dependent on these senses, we don't realize these are like the secondary set. We're blinding our true senses. The librarians were saying, when we think about ourselves rising up to love or finding our way to love or becoming love, he says, we're going in the wrong direction because we are love. Our souls were born in pure love. We were created as beings of pure love. What we're doing is we're having experiences to bring back to the pure love that is us. There's so many of us who think we're not good enough to be love, not good enough to be loved. We're not good enough to love others. No one will want our love. We devalue ourselves, but we are love. We were always love. We have been love from our first moment of life. Our lives each of us, the life that we're in was created by our souls to be the perfect vessel for experiences that then your soul can bring and connect with this state of pure love to make a greater, grander love. Think about it. To love purely is fine, but to love with every sense, every being, every emotion, every state, all together and have everything at the elevated level of love, that's a powerhouse. So don't doubt yourself. Love yourself and admire yourself for the lessons you're learning. You know, and trust me, you will never be less lovable than Dharmata. Even now that he's like elevated himself to the best he can be, he's still kind of hard to love. So I was asking the librarians again, you know, how can we trust this? And I'm reading this book, Pull Yourself Together, by the amazing Rebecca Whitcomb, White Cotton. She's an amazing book in which she connects with her parallel lives. And hopefully someday soon when we'll get her here to chat with all of us. And I opened the book to a beautiful quote, or I'm quoting it. She wrote, "I am here for a reason. I am who I am for a reason. If I hide myself, my reason of being is abandoned. I hand over my life's purpose to other people." Think about that. Anytime you say, "I'm not good enough," you are abandoning yourself and you're letting others take you for whatever they want. You're letting others dictate. When you claim yourself, feel proud of all of your flaws and your issues, because these are the things that your soul, that you are going to elevate to love. You are on an amazing, magical path. The more you allow yourself to be loved and to love yourself for everything you are, the more you can go forward with healing the planet, with enhancing your senses, with having amazing adventures. And the librarians were saying this is the most important thing. Our planet is learning this lesson now. Like if you look now, politicians are beginning to say, let us come together to protect those in need. And they're not going to stop. The librarians are hoping this is it. If it's not this go around, it'll be another one soon. But the sooner all the politicians come together, the sooner everyone will realize that we all rise up together. And this is one reason why what's happening in the here and now with the global climate change, with, you know, the COVID, and now the bird flu's back and all of that, and with, you know, the war, it's not a war, it's an attack upon an innocent nation. When we all come together for healing this, another wonderful thing will happen. Healing comes from love. And so long as the people who are running things, the politicians, the royalties, whomever is in charge, the corporate CEOs, whomever, if they're only looking out for what's in it for me, and we all know a number of them are, then they're not going forward with love. So the great healing will not come from them. But when the people of the planet start shifting more and more and more, saying, no, we must heal, the politicians will find ways of what's in it for them will be through the healing. It will happen. So we should not, so they're telling me, do not depend upon the politicians to be your saviors, because many of them care about what's in it for them, which is again, one reason why any country rich in resources that they desire or what they consider like power, corruption, money will not be the country that brings trigger and a mandala for great healing. This moment is a moment where they have no choice but to do what's right because it's what's right. And also allows us to see with greater clarity what is right versus what's comfortable versus what fills us with, you know, greedy things, 3D world things versus, as Doa says, the true reality, realism. And the realism is all of the more subtle things that you can't even see when you're busy being corrupt. So it's up to us. It is up to us to go forward with such a powerful force of love and action that is powered by love, to go forward and do what we need to do. That's unique for each of us. We're each unique individuals with our greatest power of love and our greatest ability to be connected with true reality. And heal the planet. And what is this? Nazi wrote, in the end, lifetimes seem like perspectives similar to emotions being observed and moved to love. A lifetime seems like those harsh emotions eventually turning to love. That's exactly it. The librarian said to me, you know, because we have like parallel lives happening at once. And at the end of a life experience, all the parallel lives kind of come together as one very full life. So Nazi, at the end of all of your parallel lives, you come together as one Nazi who's just got a wealth of experience. And the same with me. And then we return to our soul, which is the collective of all our past lives and future lives and whatever, and the original soul energy. And we bring all of this together. So I said to the librarians, but I don't necessarily want to lose everything that's unique with me to be part of a collective. And they said, well, think of it as every day you live is a part of your year, which is a part of your lifetime. And you don't necessarily go through clinging to every second of every day. This is unique for me, I must hold on to it. But the moments that are important, the moments that are beautiful, the moments that have resonance are the ones that really stick with you all through your lifetime. And when you think back on those moments, or, you know, some of them we don't practice our memory skills, so we forget them, but then the residual energy is with us. And sometimes someone will remind us, we're like, oh my God, that was so amazing. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. And then you carry it with you again. But when we finish with our physical life, all the things that we've forgotten that are important, we remember them. We remember them. But the moments that are so important that they stand out, that's like a big part of our lifetime. And it's the same. All of our lives come together and we're one, but we're individuals. And the goal is for all of this to be raised to the highest level of full frequency love. We'll do it for our planet. We will do it for ourselves. So thank you all so much. Like I said, I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I hope tonight was good for you and I was coherent. And hopefully next week we can bring the librarians in to speak with you more clearly. Thank you. Maybe next week I'll see if I can get a friend to join me so a friend can read your questions while I exit my body and the librarians come in. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and practice your sensory realism exercise and love